The final ecosystem working group all hands for 2022. It's been a wild year, to say the least. All right, we're going to kick off with a kind of 5 to 7 minute overview of the ecosystem working group. Then we're going to go rapid fire through 10 ecosystem spotlights, and then we got some awesome deep dives and Q&A at the end. As a reminder, the ecosystem working group mission is to seed the long-term growth of the decentralized web by cultivating a wide variety of stakeholders, aligning them with the success of IPFS, Filecoin, and libp2p, and treating them like gold. And the ecosystem working group focuses on 3 main protocols. Obviously, most of you know Filecoin is a crypto-powered storage network that is the storage network of Web3. Hundreds of builders leveraging what are our technology stack. IPFS is a content addressing platform that makes the web work peer-to-peer. It is the data and content platform of Web3. You can see some of the awesome companies and protocols that are leveraging IPFS. And libp2p is a modular network stack for P2P protocols that has become the networking library of Web3 with awesome platforms like ETH2 and Polkadot leveraging it. And the team from the ecosystem working group, as a reminder, comes from 6 different orgs, up from 2 at the end of last year when the ecosystem working group was formed. And I think this number is old, but there's probably over 100 full-time contributors right now, and many more that engage across all the different organizations. Here is the smiling faces of all the people in the ecosystem working group, led by our fearless leader, Proto Colin. I watched some of his YouTube's greatest hits for inspiration to get going. So we have the Filecoin IPFS ecosystem growth team, Web3 startups and projects. I have the unfortunate position of having my picture next to the only male model on our team, Ruben, and then the enablement team that keeps everything running. We drafted some top-level goals for 2023 for the ecosystem working group, kind of split into 2 different mandates. One is to drive large-scale and production-grade adoption of Filecoin and IPFS with businesses, applications, clients, and storage providers. And that includes 100+ value-generating projects on FVM in Q1, client onboarding to 10 PIBs a day, focusing on large-scale clients, and growing the percentage of large-scale SPs that are storing verified data from 12 to 30%. Drive large production scale adoption of IPFS, apps, browsers that support tens to 100 millions of users, and synthesize and clearly communicate the case for IPFS and Filecoin to the Web3 community. And that's where we rely on everyone on this call to help spread the word and evangelize all the things that are going on in our ecosystem. The second part is accelerating the next wave of Web3 startups and projects. Support hundreds of startups building on IPFS, Filecoin, and the Protocol Labs network through Crypto Winter. Accelerate hundreds of startups in the IPFS and Filecoin ecosystems through grants and our accelerator programs. Now is the best time to build your business. Obviously, one of the largest parts of the ecosystem working group is the Filecoin network, which has grown incredibly, even through Crypto Winter. We have close to 4,000 storage providers in 44+ countries, and increasingly growing across Singapore, Korea, North America, 15 exabytes of storage capacity, which has grown, and currently have 371 PIBs of client data, which is up an incredible 15x year to date. Obviously, thanks to the Starboard team for these awesome dashboards that we rely on. Web2 clients have almost 1,200 unique clients that have onboarded verified deals. 19% of those clients have onboarded over 100 terabytes. The Q4 goal, which we're very close to, Stefan and his team is only 1% away from reaching that, of 20%. And this is an incredible number, over 100 million NFTs stored on NFT.storage from close to 100,000 users, which both users and NFTs are up almost 6x. And it would be hard to tell that there was a downturn or crypto winter based on this hockey stick growth that they have managed to produce even during crypto winter. On the bottom graph, you can see over 312 terabytes of active deals in Filecoin, and data stored on Filecoin via Web3 storage continues to scale. Looks like the hockey stick is even increasing in October and November. And obviously the lifeblood of the ecosystem working group, we have hundreds of startups that are building on IPFS and Filecoin, and 500 plus total funded teams, Colin's favorite graph up and to the right. And you can see as these teams start to scale, as the ecosystem matures, more and more of these companies are raising Series B, Series C, Series D, and that is all great capital that is coming into our ecosystem. Some of the major use cases and things that we're focused on across the ecosystem: personal storage and communication apps. You can see Skiff, which is kind of a Google Drive competitor built on IPFS. ChainSafe, Fleek. Fleek just announced today a $25 million round led by Polychain to continue to iterate on building the Fleek network and a decentralized CDN. Metaverse and gaming is obviously a big focus. Mona, OP Games, Double Jump, and Zone are some of the awesome teams building in that space. Mona last year raised a $15 million Series A. Video and audio, another big focus. Huddle, one who just helped organize an amazing Phil Bangalore, for those of you who attended that. And decentralized identity and credentialing, Lit Protocol, Ceramic, Spruce, Unstoppable Domains, who have all raised over 10 million to continue to build out that important aspect. Developer tools, crypto networks, Celestia raised $55 million Series B. Zama, building the awesome technology of homomorphic encryption, which is kind of a game changer if we can layer that on top of our data. Fleek, again, launching their decentralized CDN, announced their Series A today. And there's hundreds of large data sets stored on Filecoin from the Internet Archive, OpenSea, the USC Shoah Foundation. And that is the end of the ecosystem working group. Now we're going to rapid fire run through 10 ecosystem spotlights of 1 minute each, starting with the amazing Clara and the Filecoin Foundation.
Thank you, guys. I'm going to keep it short, but many of you guys last month were at Phil Lisbon and all the other 40 events that were happening those 2 weeks. We had one amazing announcement that Daniel's going to talk about later with the Decentralized Storage Alliance announced with Seagate, AMD, Ernst & Young, ourselves, and Protocol Labs. We also shared an announcement with our work with to introduce Democracy's Library, which is with the Internet Archive to really bring more public data sets onto the Filecoin network. We also actually won the Web3 and Blockchain Transformation Entrepreneurship Award in the IT infrastructure category at this conference in Canada that was represented by Danny, as we can see here. So those are my quick updates.
Awesome. You can always play Where in the World is Clara and where is she winning awards? Next, Brendan's going to walk through Filecoin Orbit.
Hey, everyone. Yeah, so for some high-level updates on Orbit, we have had 64 events year to date. We're in 17 cities, 8 communities, over 5,000 attendees across all our events, and have over 50 ambassadors now. So Filecoin Orbit Bangalore is actually happening right now. And then upcoming, we have this Saturday, Preserving Art with Decentralization in Miami for Art Basel, and Clara is actually speaking there. Also Future of Web Development on IPFS in Kampala, and the application and future of Web3 storage in Chengdu, and then Filecoin Milestone in Haifei. I linked some social highlights here from Phil Accra and Orbit Nanjing, and then also just threw a couple of pictures up here from our recent Orbit Nigeria meetup, and then our Orbit Infinity Hackathon that we hosted.
Awesome. An amazing grassroots effort to build the communities and some of the great events we've been hosting. And now SP case studies.
Hi, everybody. The last time I was here, I spoke to you about the Filecoin storage provider case study program. And so I'm excited to say that we've already published 3 case studies. That was from Q3. So we have 3 more coming up in Q4. But there's a link here where you can check out all these case studies that we've already published. Each one really has an interesting story to tell. Greater Heat successfully relocated out of China. Picnic is really well known for founding ESPA and is a big leader in the North American space. And Lucky Storage is just a really cool story where they're repurposing the old Lucky Strike tobacco factory into a data storage center, a Web3 data center. So check those out at that link and look for more to come this quarter. Thank you.
Awesome. And now Graven with the GeoWeb.
Hey everyone, thanks for having me. I've been personally hanging out in the PL ecosystem for a while, but also excited to talk about the GeoWeb today. We are a recent Filecoin Dev Grant recipient, so thank you. The announcement here today is that we will be launching our Harbinger tax-based property rights system on Optimism this month. That integrates with IPFS, Filecoin, and Ceramic for our geospatial content layer. So we're excited to get it out there. We've been working on this for a long time, so thank you for the support. But the ask today is check us out, help share what we're doing, maybe become a user and or a builder on the GeoWeb. So thanks.
Awesome initiative. Let's all get out and support them, get the word out. And now Giannis with libp2p.
Hello, everyone. Jumping in from PLN Dress to bring a quick announcement here. We're going to be doing a measurement campaign on the nut hole punching feature of libp2p, which is actually starting today. And I want to call out to as many members as possible from this group, as well as all the other companies that you work with, to sign up and participate. So you can scan this QR code, which will take you to the download page. You download the binary for your own computer, and you just basically leave it running throughout December for as long as possible. There are different versions for macOS and Linux. It's really easy. There are no technical skills required. You don't need to be running an IPFS node or libp2p node or anything like that. It's using very minimal resources, so you won't basically notice. It's fine if you move to different places, like from home to office or a coffee shop, or if you use a VPN, it will just do its own thing. So there is really no excuse to skip participating. When you do install it, you'll see this little box glove up in your taskbar, which you can click and see if it's running. You can, like, the new version has got an extra feature there where you can go and see your own results out of your own nut, if it's hole punched successfully or not, and how many times. So really important thing for the libp2p team to get as much data as they can, so that so that we see if the feature is successful. It's a very important thing for peer-to-peer networks more in general, and it's going to increase tremendously the capabilities of libp2p and IPFS. So please go and participate. Thanks a lot.
Awesome. Let's all go support and get some feedback back to the libp2p team on that. And now data onboarding website update.
Hey everybody, this is Xiling from Client Growth Team. Today I'm going to quickly share the performance of our data onboarding website. So we launched it 2 weeks ago. The website is on fire. We already got thousands of visitors to this website with high engagement, and we actually captured 90 leads with like enterprise interest. So they all share the interest to onboard their large data with us, including some phenomenal company like IBM and also like the top MBA university in India and a civil rights organization from Brazil. So definitely we have the organic interest from all over the world. Right now, the team is working on, learning more about the use cases and hopefully converting some of them. And I ask for the group is definitely feel free to check out our data onboarding website and bring any like business parties you believe going to be benefit from storing the data on Filecoin. And together, we are hoping to bring more valuable data to our network. Thank you.
That's great. Great to see the value prop clearly illustrated and to see the leads converting. And now Daniel.
Here to talk about the Decentralized Storage Alliance, also known as the DSA. We started the DSA because decentralized storage technologies have not been widely adopted by enterprises. So our mission here is to enable enterprises to adopt and use decentralized storage, Filecoin, IPFS, and libp2p in their day-to-day business operations. And we really want to bridge that gap between Web 2 and Web 3 and help enterprises make the transition from Web 2 to Web 3. As Claire mentioned earlier, we launched at Phil Lisbon with commitments from founding members PL, FF, Seagate, EY, and AMD. And the announcement was super well received across major Web2 and Web3 media outlets. We saw 37 pieces of coverage, over 1 million views, almost 1,000 engagements. It got picked up by CoinDesk, Cointelegraph, MSN, for Yahoo Finance, and actually broke a record on social for Filecoin mentions, both on the day that it launched and that week. So now that we're up and running, our objectives here are to create standard specifications. We want to create reference architectures. We actually already have an enterprise architecture working group with Seagate and EY that meets on a biweekly basis. We want to create educational materials, technology improvements, and ultimately working groups that tackle some of these problems to decentralized storage technologies. If you want to learn more, please visit dsalliance.io or scan that code to visit that website. Thank you.
That's great to see all these QR codes and all that coverage. HQ with Filecoin TLDR.
Hi everyone, HQ here. I'm the lead for TLDR and I'm here on behalf of my team. So actually, as you guys know, we really help with synthesizing a lot of the content that's being put out on Filecoin. So I wanted to flag, 3 main parts. The first is I would encourage everyone to take a look at the blog. We recently published 2 blog posts. The first is actually a summary on the state and direction of Filecoin, which I'll go into a little bit more in the deep dive later. And the second one is actually a primer around tokenomics. So if you're interested in, what goes into circulating supply, the sinks and the sources of the token supply, feel free to check that out. Both are pretty short reads. There are also 3 videos that came out in this month that we really liked. So there is one, Juan's talk, actually an introduction to interplanetary consensus that was really, really good. And there were 2 talks by the LUG team that I believe were presented at Lab Week that were really good to understand their effort in the compute over data. And lastly, there are 2 things to check out. I think there is one publication around a compilation on the ways to stake Phil. Feel free to check that out on our website. And then we also recently concluded the first ever FVM hackathon. And, I personally thought that was really impressive. We had 100 over, submissions. And I found that article really interesting on the winners of the hackathon. And I was checking them out. So yeah, that's the TLDR for November.
Great, thanks, XU. Team has done an amazing job kind of demystifying all that's going on in our ecosystem. We're going to bring on Sid from Polybase, I believe, to walk through what they are building, one of my favorite projects. And I'm going to let him take over the screen share.
So, my name is Sid Gandhi from Polybase. Me and my co-founder, Callum, we started Polybase kind of towards the beginning of the summer in May of this year. Both of us have backgrounds in data infrastructure and developer tooling. I used to work at Apple, most recently was at Cruise, and Callum was at YC-backed Snapboard. And basically the problem we saw in Web3 was that storing structured data at scale in a decentralized way was pretty difficult. We ended up talking to about 100 Web3 developers, and they all kind of told us the same thing. They were using IPFS Filecoin for their file storage. They had smart contracts for their tokens or payments, and then they were storing their data in Postgres or Firebase. And that was a clear kind of area that we thought we could build something cool in. So our mission is to restore humanity's control of its information. Sounds kind of similar to the Filecoin mission. And we're keenly aware that today information collection and exploitation at scale kind of permeates our society, and the key pillars of our society, like politics, commerce, and culture, are pretty much all extremely data-driven. And not just that, they're data influencing. And so we see a lot of challenges around that. And we see a solution, though, which is self-sovereign data. And so our vision is to build a single database for the world, something that's developer-friendly, end-to-end encrypted, and self-sovereign. And so I like to put it in this way. It's like Filecoin, but for tables of structured data that you can query at really fast speed, similar to Web2 performance and scale databases. And so we call ourselves a database for Web3. I have a little diagram here that helps kind of understand how adapt today would use Polybase. And so here's an example of like a social platform. Think like a decentralized Twitter, right? You would have kind of tokens and payments in smart contracts. That's kind of your compute layer. You would have files stored in Filecoin, like post images or videos. And then you would have things like metadata, user profiles, followers stored in a database because you need to index that, query that at scale, shard that data, all the things we're used to in Web2 databases. Okay, so in the last 6 months, we raised our seed round. PL was part of that round as well. Thanks, Brad. We partnered with Polygon, Near, and Lit Protocol. With Polygon, we're building out a partnership both on the DApp development side, kind of developer courses and education, as well as building with their Maiden team that's building the ZK EVM. With Near, we're building a bridge so that Near developers can use Polybase natively in their smart contracts. And with Lit Protocol, we're building a integration for permissions and key storage and stuff like that. And so we have kind of a basic version of that built into Polybase, but if you want more advanced stuff, you'll be able to use Lit Protocol. We also signed 2 flagship customers. One is a very large, quite famous DAO. They're going to be building a lot of their internal DAO tooling that they'll then open source based on Polybase. And then another one is a decentralized, kind of a cross between Patreon and Twitter. And then we launched our testnet alpha, and I put a QR code here as well because it's hard to click links on a screen share. You can visit our website. We have our docs up. You can get started by using Polybase today. And kind of a small announcement I had, and kind of the ask or action I have is we're actually launching the first app built on Polybase very, very soon. It's called Moonforms. It's an end-to-end encrypted, self-sovereign, and censorship-resistant replacement for Google Forms, or Typeform or Airtable Forms or whatever we use today. This has been quite popular so far with early customers we've talked to in the DAO space. We've also talked to a few people inside Protocol Labs, Tim, and a couple people on the Mosaic team as well. And yeah, we're hoping to get feedback from you all. This is a forum to sign up for the early access, and we'll launch that sometime probably in the next in this month in December. So we'd love feedback from the PL team because I know we love using forums here for feedbacks and surveys and things like that. And what better way to do it than decentralized forums? So it's super easy. We have a TypeScript SDK. So this is meant to be integrated into like front-end dApps. You can also query it from a smart contract that's going to be released soon. So just yarn install the clients, initialize a new database. You have to create a namespace. So that would be like Protocol Labs or something like that. And then you create a collection. The cool thing about a collection is that it's kind of like a mini smart contract. And so you define the like columns. So these are like your properties or your columns in the database. You define the index. And so that's for like querying. If you want to query something or sort something, you need to have an index over it. So that's how you define that. And then the constructor is how you create new items. And so we'll call the constructor to add rows to the database. And then you can actually individually set, the constructor is for creating the table itself. And then actually setting columns is done by setter methods like this. And then here you can do like permissions. So you can say like, if the person that's creating the update transaction is the owner of the collection, then allow it. If it's from these 5 public addresses, allow it. Otherwise, disallow adding rows to the database. That's how we do permissions. And then you can just call on the front end, again, call create on that collection. You can add the data you want for the row. And then you can update it. And then reading is super easy as well. It's just awaiting the record and then calling get on it. So it's super simple. There's a lot of kind of technical stuff behind the scenes. We use zero knowledge rollups. We post those to blockchains. A lot of fun stuff there. But you can kind of read through our white paper when you get a chance. That's all my updates. Yeah, feel free to scan those QR codes. Thanks, everyone.
Awesome. Thanks, Sid. Glad you recovered from your surfing accident. Stefan pointed, great to see you. Great to see like you guys partnering with Lit, another another company building in our ecosystem. So great to see the community kind of partnering together. Fileverse is next.
So hi, everyone. I'm Andreas. I'm one of the co-founders of Fileverse.io, along with Vijay, who just presented at Filecoin Orbit, actually. He's based in India, so it was quite a nice opportunity to meet everyone and present the project. And Konstantin, who's based in Singapore, who's kind of our everything wizard. And myself, I'm based in Oxford, where I'm also doing my PhD on the side, but my real passion is Fileverse. So Fileverse is a dApp. It's about making privacy and decentralization easy for everyone, specifically in the context of file sharing and online collaboration. So I'll get right into what that means. The problem we're trying to solve can be summarized as online collaboration is not future-proof. Most of the apps that you use today for online collaboration do not have privacy. They lock you in, and it's really difficult to exit those apps, at least with your data. There is almost no composability between those apps. And this is a pretty dire state of affairs. So for a general audience, this translates to some endemic issues in their favorite apps like Google Workspace, WeTransfer, Dropbox, etc., which are intrusive advertisement, privacy invasions, server outages, censorship, etc. And for a Web3 specific audience, this translates to Web3 not really providing a true internet experience to people that follow the space. So in my opinion, that means that crypto wallets are underutilized. Users are locked into this vicious cycle of purely financial speculative applications with high-risk transactions, high barriers to entry with regards to technical knowledge needed, and a general bad user experience. And if you look at most teams today, everyone is using centralized file storage and collaboration tools when they want to collaborate on some documents or whatever with their team or their communities. So our solution here is can be summarized as bringing privacy and decentralization for file sharing and online collaboration in just a few clicks. So again, for a general audience, this means that you'll have like the ease of use of Google Workspace, but with a robust P2P infrastructure and on-chain data integrity. It's a 3-click setup. It's privacy preserving. It's end-to-end encrypted. It has full data portability and interoperability, and some other cool options features that I'll show you later. And for the Web3 specific audience, that means that we're bringing a private and intuitive on-chain tool for collaboration for on-chain individuals and communities. That means that we're really abstracting away the complexities of on-chain interactions, peer-to-peer storage, content addressing, and self-certification. So the way we wanted to start this, we started in April, was to really do it bottoms up. And we decided to do it through the biggest funding and building event in Web3, that is Gitcoin. We started on Gitcoin 13, and it was an absolute success. 43% of all donors on Gitcoin that round donated to Fileverse, and we were absolutely over the moon. We were the fourth top project in terms of traffic out of 2,000 projects on Gitcoin. We received $67,000 in donations in less than 2 weeks, and that made us one of the most successful first-time Gitcoin grants. And we were really, really happy about that as a free and open source dApp. By the end of GR13, we launched Fileverse Solo, which is your equivalent to WeTransfer if you want, but something that you can, like a WeTransfer that you can experience with encryption, which WeTransfer doesn't have, and from your wallet if you want. There is also the option for someone that doesn't have a wallet to have the full WeTransfer experience, but by using IPFS. It's super easy, super intuitive. I'll show you a demo real quick after, and it's accessible to really everyone. How it's going today? We have over 13,000 donors. We're still one of the top 5 projects on every Gitcoin round since April. We've got some amazing public recognition from Developer DAO, Gnosis Chain, Near, Gitcoin Down, etc. We've had over 5,250 unique users since the launch of the beta at the end of April, and some really cool collaborations coming up. One of which with Pentacle and some others that I'll keep secret for now. In the latest Gitcoin round 15, we got some funding from the Polygon track, the A16Z track, ENS, Aurora, and Filecoin. We were pretty happy also that we ranked second in the A16Z round, which was all about open source crypto infrastructure. So getting that recognition was really amazing for us. Now, why are we doing this now? I know this is a bit wordy, but I'll summarize it. We like to say that if Google Workspace, the team behind Google Workspace had started in 2022, this is what they would have built for 3 main reasons. One, we see crypto wallets as kind of a rebirth of public key cryptography. You have over 100 million people using their crypto wallets. That means they know and use their public and private keys. And this unlocks amazing opportunities that were available since the time of PGP, but there was never the adoption that allowed it to happen. There is a tech stack maturity over the past 5 years. Layer 2s have developed properly. Zero knowledge proofs, EVM adoption has really skyrocketed, and things like social recovery have just improved amazingly the experience for users, especially for non-Web3 native users, which is a crowd we're really trying to appeal to. The last reason is Web3 social components. So anything from content addressing to social graphs to DIDs, VCs, access tokens, peer-to-peer notifications. Those things are finally coming live and are becoming easier to integrate. And this is really an opportunity to shape the next cycle of adoption around non-financial, non-speculative applications in Web3, and we're trying to really lead the way on that. This is Fileverse Solo. The beta is already out since April. Please feel free to scan it. It's super simple. You can try it with your wallet, without your wallet. With your wallet, you can do some cool on-chain minting and distribution of access tokens to allow some people and others not to access your files or your private chat rooms. And this is something that is coming out very soon. We're almost ready. We're having a private beta phase at the moment. It's called Fileverse Portal, and it is really the fully on-chain, fully end-to-end encrypted, and our way of competing with Google Workspace and telling the whole space that, hey guys, you don't need to use Google or Microsoft Office anymore. We can build that with Web3 stack, and this is what you can do with it. So this is just an image, but it gives you an idea of how it will look. You can make your files public, private, or token gated. You can create and distribute your own access NFTs or like access POAPs, give them a name, an image, and distribute them to thousands of people to give them access to different folders or files. You can upload any type of file. You can share a whiteboard with some collaborators or just a doc, a bit like in Google Docs. And instead of seeing, that Alice and Bob are collaborating with you live right now on your document or in your whiteboard or chatting with you, you'll have OX1732 or Josh.eth collaborating with you live on that. And it's pretty cool. It keeps track of visitors, of members who are collaborating with you with end-to-end encryption, the amount of files you have, you can have some other analytics, you can customize this quite a bit, and even see your page as a member, so somebody who doesn't have full access to your portal, which you can think of as kind of a Google Workspace or Microsoft Office. So this is it. Please scan the QR code if you want to learn more about it. So Fileverse Solo is already out. That's the WeTransfer alternative that I told you about. And Fileverse Portal is coming out very soon, and we're really super excited about it. And please donate on the next Gitcoin round.
Awesome. Super cool to see the support from the Gitcoin community, and always great to see, decentralized technology being put into the hands of enterprise users and consumers. And now we're going to kick it to HQ for the TLDR, the longer TLDR on TLDR.
Yeah, so I'm here today to talk about, take about 10 minutes to talk about something a bit different. So I really wanted to cover, a summary of the blog post that one of my colleagues and teammate, Jonathan Victor, who is one of the leads of the ecosystem team and also part of the TLDR team, he actually put together a summary on the state and direction of Filecoin. So I just wanted to go in and share a little bit about the content. And again, it's basically a topic that we are super passionate about, having, worked in the ecosystem for a couple of years. And also it's a possible perspective and viewpoint on Filecoin. So would also love to hear some feedback from all of you guys as I go along with it. Well, what is Filecoin? So I think right now, a lot of us think of Filecoin and know Filecoin really well as the largest decentralized storage network that exists today. I think we are very familiar that, there are 4,000 over storage providers, basically real businesses that are contributing, 16 exabytes of storage capacity to our network. And when we turn our lens even to the Web3 space, Filecoin is known as the de facto storage layer. We are hosting over 90 million NFTs. That's a huge number and great hockey stick growth if you kind of look at the chart. However, I wanted to present that, maybe the vision actually includes a lot more than that. And, there has been a narrative that we have been talking about where Filecoin is more than just storage. And, what does that more than just storage actually entail? We believe that the vision actually includes the infrastructure to store, distribute, and transform data. And when we take a step back and we look at what are the capabilities that are required to create value out of data, which is a very valuable asset right now for humanity, or even the capabilities that, the Web2 cloud offerings provide is a lot more than just storage. So if you use AWS or you use Microsoft Azure and so forth, you're going there and, you are storing your data, but more importantly, maybe you are also trying to transform the data and get insights from the data. So, using this lens, you can kind of understand that there are a lot more capabilities beyond storage that are required to run applications, enable and unlock a lot of different use cases. So then we put forth this view that, Filecoin actually, if you kind of use that lens to understand Filecoin, it seeks to enable open services for data. And this diagram here is something that we found ourselves, particularly useful to anchor the mental model. So if you look at the top part here, you have three main off-chain capabilities. And, these are what we call as open services. We have made a lot of progress on the storage markets, which is something that, everyone is very familiar with. And then probably, most of you guys in the community are also familiar that we have been making, tremendous R&D effort and progress in retrieval markets, basically being able to enable hot storage and also CDN quality, kind of like retrieval. That's really important to unlock, a lot more use cases. And lastly, of course, the large scale compute over data as like a very important capability and third pillar here. And then if we look at this lower section here, there are two very critical on-chain protocol upgrades that enable and really uplift and enhance, like the capabilities that I've mentioned above. And the first one that you are very familiar with and it's like imminently on the horizon is the launch of the Filecoin virtual machine, basically introducing programmability to the protocol. And then there's another piece around what we call interplanetary consensus. Again, there are several working groups, working on this right now and a strong R&D effort. And this effort is around like how we can scale so that, we can go on to, like being able to support the scale that is required to build even Web 2 applications in a Web 3 way. So if we take this whole picture together and maybe, use this mental model, I will share a little bit about like all these different components and then kind of tie it all up together for all of you. So I'm going to talk first about storage markets. Again, I think this information is, something that all of you are very familiar with. So I think what I wanted to point out is that we have actually taken, if you look at like the past year, we have made like a lot of progress in terms of like amassing a lot of hardware to the network. So as you know, there are 4,000 over storage providers and now offer about 16 exabytes. So if you even look at the chart, it's an incredible amount of growth and a lot of hardware that is, brought to the network that people can then, contract with to store data. A key point here is that while, it has focused a lot on scalability and verifiability, there is some complexity involved. So like right now, Filecoin as it is today is actually best suited for cold storage, right? And then the rest you can read through a little bit and there's more detail in the blog post as well. So if I kind of like turn the lens, also still in the storage markets and what's going on, what's the demand situation for the storage? We have been focusing a lot of the efforts on data onboarding right now. There are several like consumer-friendly, user-friendly on-ramps available, as well as the Filecoin Plus program to bring useful data onto the network. And we've seen like incredible progress so far. If you look here, we're actually leading the pack in a very strong way in terms of like storage utilization. So utilization has grown by 15x. It's crazy, right? From the beginning of the year. And if you kind of look at, the other, what's happening in the space more broadly, we actually have 96% market share across decentralized storage players in terms of like petabytes of data stored on the network. Now I'm moving on to retrievals. And the way that I want to kind of like talk about the other capabilities is that I'll talk a little bit about it. And then, here are some things and ways that you can keep track of the progress, because a lot of these things are in like strong R&D pipelines. And it's also always a joint effort with the community. So there are, several moving parts here. So on the retrieval side, it's basically the second pillar of capabilities. It basically allows, when you do it in a decentralized way, we believe that you can get performance delivery at much lower cost than traditional solutions. Of course, it's very difficult to enable like CDN quality retrievals in a decentralized way. So the approach that we have taken is to let the ecosystem evolve and, solve for different components that are required to build this open retrieval market. And you can see some of the components here on this first chart here where, what are the building blocks of a healthy decentralized retrieval market? You can see 8 that are listed here. So basically, the Retrievals Markets Working Group is comprised of like several members of the ecosystem, and they're all working on different pieces, which really brings together the power of the decentralized community. Just to flag, there are actually two exciting projects here. So there is Filecoin Saturn, which is a Web3 CDN that was just launched, as well as Filecoin Station here, which was announced at Phil Lisbon just last month. So it's a desktop app where you can contribute underutilized CPU resources. You can basically check out these two projects. Okay, and moving on to the third pillar here, which is the large-scale compute over data. And again, this is the ability for users to be able to transform data to draw useful insights for business cases or various applications and so forth. So when we look at compute over data, we find that there are different use cases that actually require different types of compute, right? And Juan has this famous triangle here, whereby you do want to achieve all three of these points, but then the truth is that there are trade-offs between these things. So when we look at compute over data, you can imagine that there are multiple types of compute, and they could exist as L2s over the base L1 layer here. And it's important to note that actually the storage providers have some compute resources, right, as a function of needing to run storage proofs. So these are co-located with the data, and it actually makes it easier for Filecoin to leverage that to set up decentralized compute markets in the future. And in terms of staying staying abreast with the developments here, there are multiple types of compute being developed. I think many of us have heard of Bacalhau, which is a large-scale parallel computing, as well as Lurk, which is another project that is doing cryptographically verifiable compute. Again, there is a link here and also in the blog post where you can stay up to date with the developments of the compute over data working group. So moving on actually to the second part, which is the on-chain protocol upgrades that are coming up. So the bottom half here, spend a bit of time to talk about the FVM, and I will talk a little bit about interplanetary consensus, just to complete the full picture. I think that the Filecoin virtual machine is something that's really exciting on the horizon. And the way that we see it is that it provides the expressiveness to deploy and trigger various services on Filecoin. And this actually allows Filecoin to operate as a fully fledged L1. And you can imagine much more sophisticated offerings. So the important thing here is that it enables computation over Filecoin state, but that is very different from the large-scale compute over data that we talked about before. So think of it as like mini compute, basically. And there are further details here around how how the kind of architecture for the VM looks like, and you can also follow the development that the progress that the team has made over here, which is basically their GitHub and as well as their website. So the key thing to note here is that the first release of the Filecoin virtual machine will actually be EVM compatible, meaning that you can basically very easily copy over and fork over any EVM contracts from other EVM chains and run them on Filecoin. And as mentioned, we expect that there are going to be a new slew of startups. In fact, something that is very different and centered around the value of data. You might even refer to it as like a decentralized data economy. I think that really sets Filecoin on its own unique path, unique and differentiated path as an L1. It's something that we are super excited to look at, because I think it's something that the space doesn't have, and really comes from the fact that we had spent many years building the primitives for storage and verifiable storage, and look to the future on what that can unlock as well. Some of the things that we are looking towards that is like a DeFi economy. There's actually a very strong economic loop that can exist in Filecoin, because we have these 4,000 over businesses that need collateral. And that's already a native kind of market that exists right now. Things like perpetual storage and auto renewal of deals, these make Filecoin storage services work even better. And so on and so forth, which we are excited to explore with the community. Lastly, there is a piece around interplanetary consensus, which is really allowing Filecoin to scale effectively to deliver internet scale services, right? So the interesting approach that we have taken to that is that it allows subnets to be created, which all anchor down to the main chain. And I think that you can read more about it in the link here as well, which is also provided in the blog post. Finally, to summarize, the services and the composability of the services can lead to actually very strong economic loops, as well as compounding demand for the services of the Filecoin network. And the thing is that all of these actually ultimately anchor into the Filecoin blockchain and so generate demand for block space. So I think that we are on the cusp of like a very exciting time next year for the network itself. And to recap, Filecoin's ambition goes beyond being a storage network, but to enable open services for data and really unlock the decentralized data economy. I've left the link here. You can definitely feel free to check it out. I think it's about a 10-minute read. There are more details in the blog post, and Jonathan Victor covers them in ways that are much more eloquent than me. So definitely encourage you to check that out. And if you have any questions or, you want to get involved, if you love writing, we're very happy to work with members of the community to put out more insights and interpretations basis their experience of Filecoin and, looking to the future as well. You can drop us a note at the tldr@protocol.ai email address, and you can also reach out directly to me on Filecoin Slack if so. Thank you so much. I'm passing back over to Brett.
Awesome. Thank you so much, HQ. It's great to see how simply and eloquently you explained all of that. And, honestly, a great way to close the year in crypto winter with all of the cool things that, despite pricing pressure, is going on in our ecosystem and all the cool things that are going to launch next year.